你会在买冰箱时货比三家，却只因为在公交车上听了一耳朵，就把5000美元扔进一只股票里。传奇基金经理彼得林奇说，这就是大多数人亏钱的原因。在最近一次访谈中，这位曾把麦哲伦基金从2000万做到140亿美元的选股之王，重申了他的核心原则：买你所了解的公司，但更要看资产负债表。他提醒，股价上涨本身不是买入理由，真正该找的是有好故事的企业，比如 TJX 涨了50倍，Stop and Shop 涨了10倍，或者像英伟达这样的新巨头。林奇并不悲观，他回顾了二战后的13次衰退与13次复苏，认为银行体系比2008年更稳健，即使个别银行倒闭也属正常。他坦言无法预测这次被预期最多的衰退是否真的会来，但强调只要你还愿意做5+5的算术，就能分清一家公司是现金充沛还是债台高筑，而这往往就是输赢的分水岭。最后他笑称，如果知道未来，他愿意多花5美元买明年的《华尔街日报》，可惜没人能预测，所以总有人担心才是市场的常态，而他要做的永远是寻找下一个新公司。
We are now joined by a very special guest. Can we call him a legend? I think we're going to. Legendary investor Peter Lynch. He is with us from Boston this morning to share his perspective on the economy, markets, and the work he's doing for the Catholic Schools Foundation. Peter, of course, is the vice chairman of Fidelity Management and Research and advisory board member of Fidelity Funds. From 1977 to 1990, he managed the Magellan Fund, growing it from, you ready for this, $20 million to $14 billion in 1990 at the time of his retirement. Buy what you know is what Peter taught us, and it's so nice to see you this morning, Peter.
Good to be here.
So let's talk about buy what you know. I'm so curious these days how you're thinking about the economy.
Well, I think people that are investing in individual stocks, it's sad they're careful when they buy a refrigerator or an airplane flight. They're careful with their money, and they'll hear about a stock on the bus, and they'll put $5,000 or $10,000 on it. They have no idea what they do. So you're really got to be careful. Look at the company, look at the balance sheet. What is the reason the stock should be higher? The sucker's going up is not a good reason.
Is your sense, though, that the style of investing that you pioneered is still doable and winnable today?
Well, I think looking for something different, looking for something that's a good story. I mean, who would have guessed TJX, a local company, would have gone up 50-fold, or Stop and Shop would go up 10-fold, or Analog Devices, or NVIDIA. I couldn't pronounce NVIDIA. So you have to find a company that's either a turnaround or a company that's going to grow, like Panera or, Family Dollar stores. I'm not saying that buys now, but that's what's made our, Sears is rolled over, so Kmart's rolled over, IBM slowed down, but we've had new companies come along. I mean, that's the nature. You have to be looking for new companies and look at the balance sheet. If you can add 5 and 5 and get reasonably close to 10, you should be able to look at a balance sheet and say, here's 2 depressed companies. They've gone from 50 to 3. One company's got $3 million in cash and no debt. One's got $3 million in debt, no cash. Which one are you going to buy? I mean, that's not too hard to do.
Peter, I watched you closely because I was in the business back then, and I don't know. Do you remember how many S&Ls went from mutuals to stock trade that you made just buku bucks on back then? I mean, I don't know if you missed any of those, and they were all big winners. They're all big winners. They were all big winners back then. What do you think of the financial sector right now and what happened? We saw with First Republic, and I'd just like to get your insight there since you were so good at that sector.
We had a terrible financial crisis in 1991. I think almost every major bank in Texas went under. Bank of New England, one of the oldest banks in the country, went under. It's like, in 08, 09, the banks were doing these no-doc loans and second mortgages and home improvement loans, and people were buying boats with it. Now the banks are being much more careful. So we've gone through other crises. Some banks will go under. 400 went under after 08, 09. Now we have stress tests. I think the banking system has improved. There'll be some companies go under. That's the nature of it. It's nothing like, imagine 1980, 81, we had double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, and people were the Japanese were going to take over the world. I mean, we were hopeless. I mean, there's always something to worry about. I'd really, in my over 50 years of doing this, I think I'd be worried if there was somebody didn't bring up something to worry about. That's the nature of the business.
I was joking because I'm a Reagan guy, and I was there. I started at Merrill in 1981, so I remember what happened. I remember my feelings in 1981, and I remember my feelings, how I felt by 1985. Ugly. And you had a tailwind. I had a tailwind because of what we did. We're not going to do that again. We're not going to cut taxes. We're not going to stimulate the private sector. We're kind of headed the other way. Did you have a tailwind? Will we ever have a tailwind again with this generation?
Well, we've had 13 recessions since World War II, and we've had 13 recoveries. Maybe we're going to have one. If this is a recession, it's probably the most predicted one ever. I never know when we're going to go. I'd love to know the future. I think it would help. I'd be a better investor. I'd pay $5 extra for next year's Wall Street Journal. It would really help. Right. I cannot predict the future, but this recession is so expected, so predicted. Maybe it's coming. I don't know.